One of the most useful things for students is feedback on their work from tutors. I'll provide you with feedback on your work if you can give me a copy of the assignment brief you're working to or a description of the task that you've been set to complete. Either a draft of your submission or a plan for your response to the task, and any other guidance or support that you've received or notes you've made or ideas that you've got to complete the piece with. I usually get this stuff in Word documents, .docx, but I also work in Google Docs, OpenOffice format. I can usually find a way to open whatever file you need to send me. I'll usually send you back comments in the margins using the marginal comment tool, reviewing tool, about suggestions for the content and structure of your work, and that should be just stuff to help you, generally speaking, get a better grade, write a better standard. I also suggest additional resources that might be helpful, things that might point you in the right direction to go, or stuff you might not have considered that could perhaps take you in slightly new directions. And I'll also help you identify things that could be deleted. This is one of the most important things that I can do, and that's to work out where you're wasting your word count, distracting your reader, undermining your own conclusion by wandering off into material that's not terribly relevant. I never ever do anybody else's work for them, so please don't ask. If you ask me to cheat on your behalf, I will do my best to tell your higher education institution that that's what you're trying to do. Consider yourself being given fair warning. So here's an example of some of the feedback that I've done. So this was from a third year piece. It was a fairly long essay, 3,500, 4,000 words, looking at the development of social work and the place of feminism within that. So we can see here that the student has completed a couple of paragraphs. My commentary here includes stuff like stylistics. So this here is a rhetorical question. My marginal comment, I know that many tutors find the rhetorical question irritating. Don't do it is essentially what I'm saying and explaining why. Here I'm suggesting a supporting reference might be useful, and even identifying the type of reference that might be used, for example, using a neutral source like a dictionary rather than something with a particular point of view to represent. The piece developed a bit further, and here I make a suggestion about the technical way we handle citations. Harold Amboss and Holborn's a massive text. It might be useful to point the reader at the specific component you were thinking of. Here's another stylistic thing about breaking up your paragraph into smaller sentences. That's just very simple copyright editing kind of stuff that you could get from anybody, but I might as well do it whilst I'm there. And here's a suggestion about using specialist technical terminology. The student is describing the political project of first wave feminism. They might as well use the terminology that goes with that. Here's another piece of work from a master's level research project, a proposal examining the impact of a government provision in early years in education. So the passage starts with a careful selection of materials and resources to develop an idea. Nothing here is cited that isn't discussed, and all the discussion is working its way towards a sort of main idea or conclusion. But as we move forward, so what I was saying there is actually well done. As we move forwards, though, contrasting that, if you look here, the student has done a very traditional, typical thing of collecting a lot of sources, a lot of citation, and just listing it one after the next and not really discussing it. Now, I get why that happens. That happens because as you're working, you think another thing, and you I'll come back to that in a minute or two, and then you forget to go back to it. So this is quite useful kind of reading to correct by suggesting, well, you need to come back to something. So you can see from this that one of the ways in which I work is providing these marginal comments. Here's an alternative idea. This is me presenting my reading of a piece of work on YouTube using an unlisted video so that nobody else can see it, that has a bunch of notes along the margins as well. You can see them here, and you can hear me rattling away in the background giving guidance and advice. Preparing screencasts like this, I would normally be working in 5 to 10 minute chunks. It takes me about half an hour to make a screencast of 5 to 10 minutes. If I'm just restricting myself to marginal notes, I should be finding 2 to 3 comments per page. That's about 1 to 2 comments per 100 words. If I'm not able to provide feedback on that scale, generally speaking, I'll email you and say, I'm not going to do this work because I can't help you. You're already at a standard that I can't help you progress beyond. But because it takes me time to do this stuff, one of the things you've got to bear in mind is there are limits to how much I can do in short amounts of time. If you ask me to help you and you're very close to your own deadline, you're not really giving me much time to respond, and you're not giving yourself much time to use my responses. So just bear that in mind. It's not the best way to manage your workload. I know very often we seek tutorial support when things are going badly wrong, but just to be a bit conscious, get in ahead, ask for the guidance before it's crunch time, and you might find you're better able to do stuff. That, in essence, is what I do. If you have further questions or you have suggestions about things that you would like instead or as well as, of course, email me, let me know, and we'll talk.